Well, we have police that have been deployed to various potential hotspots in Zimbabwe as a result of this national shutdown. Let's get you some analysis now. Tapiwa Diamond Chadya is an analyst specializing in African politics. He joins us from our Pretoria studios. Good afternoon, Tapiwa. When we look at the reason why this decision was implemented, the president announcing that part of it had been as a result of mitigating that demand for fuel and the illegal trade of fuel, as he's put it. Do those reasons sound justifiable to you?
Well, good afternoon to our viewers and listeners, and thank you for having me. Well, probably just to put a little bit of background in this issue, the president came on national television and announced, according to statutory instrument 10 of 2019, a few days ago. So what the president then said in terms of the fuel price increases, he said it at a time when people were anticipating and expecting him as the leader of the nation to come and speak to the people of Zimbabwe, to speak to their political, social and economic issues, to say, we understand what is going on in the country and the situation will be under control. But what the president then did was to come and announce the increases in the country. And that then caused an upset in the people within Zimbabwe. As a result now, we have the labor unions and then associations which are pro-democracy, which came up together and said, no, due to the fuel price increase which is there now, there won't be any need for people to stay and go to work, but rather they should stay at home and protest against such increases, as the wages in the country have not been increasing for a very long time.
As it stands, the fuel price has gone up. From your understanding, how much longer will it be before this impact is felt in terms of food prices that will then also have a greater impact on Zimbabweans?
Well, the moment you increase your petrol increase, it has got a ripple effect on your food prices. As we speak, food prices have been skyrocketing. As an example, if we speak of a small tin of beans, currently as we speak, it is about 50 rand, just a small tin of beans. And the tissues, which are about $18 in Zimbabwe, they're about $58. So things have either tripled or have gone quadrupled, 4 times more than the price that they were. And this then called for the people of Zimbabwe to go into the streets. The ZCTU, which is the labor union, and all other pro-democratic groups, they then joined hands and said there is a need for a robust leadership, because the price increases would then mean that the employee is not able to go to work because the prices have skyrocketed and the wages are not increasing. So that then has resulted in the people of Zimbabwe going into the streets and marching against the governance of Emmerson Mnangagwa and ZANU-PF, because the government of the day is not doing anything to benefit the people of Zimbabwe. The people have been struggling for a very long time. And if we go back down a few months back before he got elected, he had given so much hope to the people of Zimbabwe. He had declared that Zimbabwe is open for business, and saying that a lot of investors who are coming into Zimbabwe, pouring in billions of US dollars for the resuscitation of the economy of Zimbabwe. But from the time elections took place up until now, there's been no movement in the economic sector. And thus now, the Gini coefficient gap, the gap between the rich and the poor, has been increasing on a daily basis. And that is why we see, justifiably so, the people of Zimbabwe are in the streets protesting.
In terms of solutions, because this is the Zimbabwean government's way of trying to mitigate some of the problems they're facing. But from the outside looking in, what do you think they should have done instead?
Well, the government should not have done anything because they've got no solutions to whatever is happening in Zimbabwe. I believe the only hope for Zimbabwe lies within the opposition party of Zimbabwe. From the time Zimbabwe went to independence from 1980, the best that Zimbabwe had was when there was a GNU, the combination of ZANU-PF and the MDC. That was the only time that the people of Zimbabwe saw an economic turnaround of the situation in the country. So as we speak, probably I could say the political and social economic situation of the people of Zimbabwe has been going down, and the government has been stepping on people's toes for a very long time. With ZANU-PF in charge, I can say there's been a total emasculation of people's political, social, and economic power. Therefore, the people of Zimbabwe are available for manipulation and abuse by ZANU-PF and its cronies, because the people, the ruling elite, they've got no heart for the people. And whatever they've been doing, they've been looting. Zimbabwe had diamonds, the biggest scraping diamond where you could just scrape. But that diamond field has not done anything to benefit the people of Zimbabwe. So ZANU-PF has shown over and over again that they do not have the solutions for the economic crisis of Zimbabwe. But the opposition party, probably it is high time that they go and consult those in the opposition fraternities. As we have seen, the history does not lie. As we had seen in the past, that when they joined hands together, things went well for the people of Zimbabwe.
You speak about the opposition, and we have Nelson Chamisa, who's described this as a national crisis, which is descending into a humanitarian crisis. Is he correct?
He is totally and absolutely correct to the T. There are people in Zimbabwe who cannot afford to go, cannot afford to have a meal on a daily basis. People are suffering in the country. But those, the big wigs in ZANU-PF, they've got expensive houses that they live in. They've got fat bank accounts, fat Swiss accounts that they have. And they are distanced between, there's a huge distance between the politicians and the reality. We have seen that each and every single time that the opposition party says, let's go into the streets and demonstrate on the political, social, economic situation of Zimbabwe, we have seen so many people going into the streets. The reason why we've got so many numbers of people going into the streets is because there is no employment in Zimbabwe. People are not employed. People are not working. There's been no creation of jobs. ZANU-PF promised to create jobs, but they have not created jobs. What they've done was to create a nation of people with degrees, the graduates who are not employed or employable currently, because all the industries have closed. So there is a need to resuscitate the industry in the country, but the solutions lies within the opposition of Zimbabwe. That engagement needs to happen. And also this has gone down into a humanitarian crisis because there is a lot that the media has not been covering. There are people in the rural areas who are distanced from reality, people who cannot afford because there are no any earnings in the country. If the wages remain constant and the fuel prices go higher, it then means that the person who gets affected the most is the employee, is the working class and the unemployed working class in the country. So the president of the opposition party is completely right.
All right, let's leave it there for tonight. Tapiwa Diamond Chadya speaking to us on the situation in Zimbabwe, and we'll stay with the story throughout the day. In the meantime, you can also have your say. We're asking you this afternoon, do you think that Zimbabwe can overcome its economic crisis? You've heard what the analysts say. You've seen the visuals for yourself. You can cast your vote on Twitter and Facebook. The handle is @ENCA on Twitter and @ENCA News on Facebook.